Africa. The face and voice of Africa. The story of resurgent and burgeoning Africa is here, only on the Pulse of Africa channel. Pulse of Africa, the face and voice of Africa.
Hello and welcome. I'm Tansai Gabriel and this is POA News. Stay with us for insightful coverage on the stories shaping our region and beyond. Madaraka Nyerere, son of the Tanzanian founding father and Pan-African icon Julius Nyerere, praised the GERD as a symbol of African unity and self-reliance. Visiting the mega project for the first time, he said the dam reflects the original vision of the continent's founding fathers who sought not only political independence but collective economic strength. Nyerere described the GERD as not just an Ethiopian project, but an African project, noting its regional impact and the power Ethiopia already exports to neighboring countries, including Tanzania. He expressed surprise learning that part of Tanzania's electricity supply originates from the dam, saying this proves the practical benefits of cooperation among African nations.
You know, the founding fathers had the idea of uniting Africa politically. That was the original idea. But beyond that, the Pan-Africanist ideas also were about uniting Africa economically and socially and militarily. So when I visit this project, I am reminded that there's still a lot of work to do. But this is already a very huge step towards combining the resources of Ethiopia, not just for the benefit of Ethiopia, but a project which also benefits other African countries. And that was the basis of the Pan-Africanist ideas, that we are developing a project here in Ethiopia, but it also benefits other countries, Tanzania, Sudan.
He highlighted that the project was built entirely with Ethiopian funding and public contributions, calling it a living model of self-reliance policy his father championed. According to Nyerere, Africa can only secure its political independence when it controls its economic development. And the GERD demonstrates what African nations can achieve when they depend on their own resources. Nyerere emphasized the dam's importance in powering industrialization across the continent.
I am embarrassed that it's only today that I find out that electricity from Tanzania is also produced here in this dam. But I'm very happy and I'm very proud that this is not just an Ethiopian project, but it's an African project. Founding fathers fought for political independence, but there's still a lot of work to do in ensuring that African countries are also economically independent. But that cannot happen if they work separately. So they have to form economic cooperation on a Pan-African scale, maybe as a first step between few countries, but eventually developing projects which benefit the entire continent. So the first step was political independence, but we still have a lot of work to do in ensuring that we are also economically independent. Because if you're not economically independent, then you cannot guarantee your political independence.
With reliable and affordable energy, he said African countries can reduce dependence on exporting raw materials and instead focus on manufacturing, a crucial step toward full economic independence and a stronger continental economy. He concluded with a message to African current leaders, urging them to look beyond their annual meetings at the African Union and actively study Ethiopia's development model. Visiting projects like the GERD, he said, can inspire similar initiatives across the continent. Guys stuck on the the continent and help advance the Pan-African vision of unity, prosperity, and shared progress. Three South African cities have secured spots in Africa's top 10 most attractive cities for 2025, reaffirming that despite ongoing challenges, the country's major metros remain centers of opportunity and ambition. The ranking released by Jeune Afrique surveyed nearly 8,000 people across African cities and combined public perception with hard data on foreign investment, infrastructure, quality of life, and economic potential. Cape Town placed fourth, retaining its status as one of Africa's most admired cities thanks to a strong mix of lifestyle, culture, and development. Johannesburg followed in seventh, recognized for its economic influence and role as a key hub for business and innovation. Pretoria ranked ninth, praised for its stability, strong institutions, and balanced urban environment that offers both efficiency and quality of life. The broader list shows Africa's urban landscape shifting rapidly, but South Africa remains a major player, and this year's results highlight both the strength of its cities and the people driving them forward. Chaired by acclaimed Korean filmmaker Bong Joon-ho, the 2025 Marrakech International Film Festival's jury selected Promised Sky from 13 competing feature films. The 93-minute drama, supported by the festival's Atlas workshops, followed the intertwined stories of three women seeking hope and opportunity in Tunis. The jury praised the film for its poetic strength and its bold, socially grounded artistic vision. Lead actress Deborah Lobe-Nane also received the Best Actress Award for her performance in the film. Other major awards included the Jury Prize, shared between My Father and Gaddafi by Gillian Kay and Memory by Valadilena Sandhu, while Oscar Hudson won Best Director for Straight Circle. Sope Dirisu took home Best Actor for his role in My Father's Shadow. Jury President Bong Joon-ho expressed gratitude to the festival and praised the high caliber of all competition films, noting that while only a few received awards, every film deserved recognition and applause. A global system for mobile communications new report finds that Senegal could bring 2.6 million more people online and expand access to essential digital services by 2030 through targeted digital reforms. These reforms aim to reduce barriers to access, improve affordability, and modernize regulation to make digital services accessible, trusted, and widely used. The study driving digital transformation of the economy in Senegal highlights that addressing the 54% mobile internet usage gap would unlock opportunities in education, health, finance, agriculture, and other sectors while generating 1,100 billion francs in economic value and creating 280,000 new jobs. Senegal has already made progress with 97% 4G and 39% 5G population coverage and 8.16 million mobile internet users. Yet affordability, skills gap, and high device costs keep millions offline. GSMA emphasized people-centered reforms to ensure the infrastructure translates into meaningful digital participation. The report identifies 5 priority areas for reform: lowering costs for citizens, strengthening infrastructure in undeserved regions, aligning energy and telecoms, modernizing regulation, and scaling digital public services like e-government, mobile payments, and health systems. If implemented, these measures could rise mobile internet adoption to 61%, bridge regional devices, improve affordability for low-income households, support SMEs and farmers, expand access to public services, create jobs, and boost national revenue, helping Senegal achieve its digital ambition. Moving on to business news, Burkina Faso has repaid nearly $2.13 billion in domestic debt between January and November 2025, the government announced. The repayment covers obligations to local companies, state suppliers, banks, and financial institutions. The country's internal revenues reached 2,500 billion francs by September 30, 2025, achieving 105% of the full-year target. This represents 388 billion francs more than the same period in 2024, reflecting improved revenue collection. The increased receipts enabled the government to allocate nearly 1,200 billion francs to domestic debt repayment, easing cash pressures and financing current expenditures. Despite this, Burkina Faso's domestic debt remained at a high 4,850 billion francs by March 2025. Domestic debt is mainly composed of public securities issued on the regional financial market, including treasury bills and bonds, which accounted for 77.9% of the total at the end of March 2025. Minister of Economy and Finance Abubakar Nakanabo emphasized that domestic debt is a continuous budget tool, rebuilding as the state takes on new commitments for public investment and social spending. Broadband in Franco has partnered with Huawei to build an intelligent all-optical backbone network supporting South Africa's national broadband strategy, SA Connect. The initiative aims to provide affordable, stable, and high-quality broadband across the country. As a state-owned enterprise under the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies, BBI is implementing the backbone network expansion strategy to extend ICT infrastructure nationwide. The project seeks to close connectivity gaps between urban and rural areas and align South Africa with industrialized nations. BBI is using Huawei's optical cross-connect technology to deliver high-speed, flexible 800G wavelength transmission. This allows real-time data transfer between cities and data centers, supporting application in healthcare, education, e-commerce, e-government, while boosting the country's digital economy. The network has already connected over 13,000 public Wi-Fi hotspots and more than 2 million rural homes. It also includes a new optical fiber route from Johannesburg to Kopfontein border, enhancing cross-border connectivity across the SADC region, spanning all 9 provinces. BBI CEO Gift Zoa emphasized the project's mission to bridge the digital divide and achieve SA Connect's goal of inclusive, high-capacity broadband by 2030. Moving to sports, Mozambique head coach Kuchinko Konde has announced his final 25-man squad for the Total Energies CAF Africa Cup of Nations Morocco 2025. The team blends experienced campaigners with 9 newcomers, making their AFCON debuts. 16 players return from the previous edition in Côte d'Ivoire. Forward Peppo is ruled out due to the knee injury, and Salicio is omitted for technical reasons. Mozambique will open their AFCON campaign on 24th of December against defending champions Côte d'Ivoire, seeking to progress beyond the group stage for the first time in their history. A team of 24 young Rwandan athletes departed today, December 8, 2025, for Angola to compete in the 4th African Youth Games scheduled from December 10 to 20. The athletes will represent Rwanda across multiple sports, aiming to showcase their talent on a continental stage. The African Youth Games serve as a key qualification pathway for the Dakar 2026 Youth Olympic Games, giving youth athletes the opportunity to gain international experience and secure spots for the global event. Rwanda's delegation is eager to make its mark and continue the country's growing presence in youth sports. Rwanda has steadily invested in youth athletics over the past decade, focusing on talent development, training programs, and international exposure. This investment has begun to bear fruit, with Rwandan athletes performing strongly in regional competitions and gradually building a reputation as emerging contenders in African sports. The 4th African Youth Games in Angola promises a competitive and inspiring environment, bringing together young athletes from across the continent. Now let's review the latest forecast and see what weather conditions are anticipated throughout the region. That's all from POA News for the hour. Thank you for joining us and stay tuned for more updates from Africa.
Last week, Addis Ababa hosted a major event dedicated to celebrating African storytelling. The gathering highlighted the richness and diversity of narratives across the continent, recognizing excellence in various forms of media. Awards were presented for outstanding news reports, compelling documentaries, insightful interviews, innovative social media storytelling, and more. The event drew remarkable participation with over 800 submissions received from more than 40 African countries, showcasing the breadth of talent and creativity across the region. Following the ceremony, POA interviewed the winners to hear their reflections and experiences.
I feel so happy. I am so happy. Like a month ago when I was applying for it, I never knew that I would get it. A friend of mine who is also a journalist sent me the link and told me, Maggie, this sounds like an easy win for you. Then I laughed. I was like, an easy win for me? No. Why do you think my story can be outstanding across the continent? But here I am. I am so happy to be here. I am so happy to be recognized as a woman. And documentaries, it's something that takes you time to, to deliver or to file as a journalist. So there are sleepless nights, but I'm happy that it has bore fruits, and I will continue doing stories.
It's an incredible moment. I mean, these are the first of their kind. We've never been celebrated at this magnitude, and it means a lot specifically for Africans who tell their own stories, and therefore this needs to continue. Many participants need to actually form part of these awards. Next year, I believe they're going to continue. This year, we had 800 people entering, and we'll only have 10 winners. So you can imagine the competition is really, really tight.
It's an honor to be the first recipient of this award, and I'm hopeful that we shall continue to receive these awards and these recognitions. Obviously our hope is that these awards will not be the only awards. We are hoping to see many more African Media Awards being undertaken in Africa. And thank you very much to obviously RT, the organizers of the awards, and hoping that they can continue doing so.
First of all, I feel elated that I was invited not just to come as a guest, but as a guest of honor by RT. And this being the first, Sierra Leone's broadcasting was the first English language radio broadcaster, one of the best, the first three in Africa. So to be amongst the first to be here for the Broadcasting Awards, it's just a history in the making that RT and the African Union of Broadcasters were able to pull this off. We need to showcase African excellence. We need to showcase African talents. Africans telling African stories, be it on radio, be it in the newspaper, be it on television, or be it in social media.
With all this growth, African media faces a critical challenge: the power of global narratives. For decades, Africa has often been portrayed internationally as a continent defined by conflict, instability, disease, and poverty. Such negative imagery has affected investment flows, tourism, diplomatic relations, and even the self-perception of African societies. African media must deliberately work to shift this narrative by telling Africa's own stories, highlighting local achievements, promoting success cases, and celebrating the continent's cultural, economic, and intellectual wealth. Our media, Pulse of Africa, have engaged extensively with professionals and media leaders from across the continent. Through numerous interviews and conversations, we have observed a shared commitment to redefining Africa's image and shaping a more accurate and empowering narrative. These leaders repeatedly stress that the responsibility of African media is not only to inform, but also to uplift, correct misinformation, and present balanced accounts of both the challenges and the opportunities within African societies.
Osman Sembene once said, Osman Sembene is a Senegalese filmmaker, he once said, European is not my center. My center is Africa. I think we should follow his footsteps. We should tell our stories, only our stories. Bad, good, but it should be told by us, no one else.
It's very, very important that the African media must tell its own story. That's why I'm reminded by the African proverb that says, if the lion does not learn to speak, the story will always glorify the hunter. And it's time for us as Africans and as the media houses in Africa to give the microphone to the lion. We need to roar in our own way. We need to tell the stories in our own way.
African media needs to get together, needs to start telling the story from the African perspective. We have to change the narrative. We have to tell the story from our own perspective as Africa. So African media needs to come together and start telling the story from the African perspective and not stories that are told by others. The story should be told by ourselves and not others telling the story on our behalf.
Africans being the ones to tell their own stories, shifting the narrative and moving away from the influence of neo-colonialism, the influence of Western media, and how important it is for us as Africans to tell our own stories.
What we are supposed to do is to do underreported stories in the community and to highlight the stories of marginalized people in our cultural way, in our African way, instead of doing it in the Western way. There is authenticity that comes out of Africa, out of the way cultures are here.
Media professionals have recommended that stronger and more creative efforts be undertaken to advance Africa's development. They stressed the importance of innovation and originality in media work, highlighting that such approaches can play a vital role in addressing the continent's challenges and opportunities. In addition, they emphasized the need for African media to focus on the continent's burgeoning youth population. With young people making up a significant portion of Africa's demographic, the media has a crucial responsibility to engage, inform and empower them. By doing so, the media can contribute to shaping a more dynamic, inclusive and forward-looking society.
As a journalist and producer, we should focus on creativity because time is flying. Things are changing. We should not do boring interviews anymore, boring content anymore. As you can see what's on Netflix right now, as you can see what's on Prime TV, Showmax and everything, things are changing. Let's keep up. Let's be creative, but don't forget, let's tell our stories.
Africa is a very youthful generation. We have an average of between 18-year-olds to 24-year-olds largely in our population. So we have a teeming youthful population all over Africa. And it's very important that we tell stories that leave legacies. You've mentioned the likes of Kwame Nkrumah, Chinua Achebe, even Chief Obafemi Awolowo from Nigeria. These people have very rich histories. All our books that have come from Africa, Things Fall Apart, The Death and the King's Horseman by Professor Wole Soyinka. How do we tell the stories to the generations to come so they don't forget this African rich culture? And it's about using technology, I would say. So embrace technology, but bring the local African context. And then, you marry it together. So you can imagine telling folklore with animation, with technology. That's the blend, the good blend that we should have when we're telling African stories. So do not ignore culture, but also do not ignore advancement and technology, because technology isn't going away. It's like a tide, you can't outrun it, so you have to ride with the wave. So it's brilliant, and I think this is something that should be sustained. Such recognition and such awards should be sustained.
My message for all African media is to give opportunities to young people. They are very talented and they have a lot of information or a lot of ideas that they can share with the world. So they should give, some of the media stations are dominated by older people. So I would tell them to give more chance to young people.
Media professionals have recommended the pursuit of a more united Africa, one that embodies and lives up to the aspirations of the continent's forefathers.
Of course, for our generation, I come from a very young generation. You mentioned the great Nelson Mandela. He loved African leaders. He would be able to bring them together. He would be able to visit. I mean, South Africa, to move out of apartheid, had to get assistance from other African countries. But I think what our youth needs to do, young people need to continue to educate themselves. They shouldn't operate in isolation, because us as young people, you hustle, you do your own thing alone. But I think we need to learn from the great legends in Africa to come together and continue the spirit of Pan-Africanism.
Our ancestors had a vision, and that vision is what we need to carry on. We need to make sure that it stays alive. I know almost everybody has forgotten the history and where we're coming from, but we need to get back to our roots. Go back to the vision of our forefathers. What did they want to see Africa? How did they want to see Africa?
You know, our generation, because I call myself the Gen A, or no, not the Gen A, the Millennium generation, we are almost losing that concept. We hope that the Gen Zs, the Gen As could actually pick up from those ancestors, the Kwame Nkrumahs, the Julius Nyerere, the Sekou Touré of Guinea, the Siaka Stevens of my country, Sierra Leone. These were the original freedom fighters. We got our independence in 1961. So it was during the early days of independence. So I truly hope that the Generation Z and the Generation A that is about to come or is already coming will pick up this history, because for us, the baby boomers and the millennials, we've already lost it.
Our time with African media professionals and leaders has revealed a sector that is ambitious, evolving, and deeply aware of its role in shaping the future of the continent. As we continue our journey, Pulse of Africa remains dedicated to providing fresh perspectives on the role of media in African affairs. By supporting transparency, encouraging development, amplifying African voices, and challenging outdated narratives, media across the continent can contribute powerfully to Africa's demographic and economic progress. Thank you for watching and have a good time.